Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica and I'm the mental health mom. If you see black and white blobs coming in and out of the frame, those are my cats and my dog. So I have a cat, Captain, back here who is pretty much laid up, and now Prim is laying beside him. That's so cute, they're cuddling. I also have this little rugrat, my 8-month-old baby, who is snacking on some mums. And I'm not sure where my dog just disappeared to, but don't be alarmed, they're perfectly docile. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I talk all things mental health, conscious living, motherhood, cloth diapers, and also natural childbirth. Because I have shared my experience with natural childbirth on many platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, I have been sharing it because I just had such a wonderful experience. I've gotten a lot of questions. How did my husband feel about it? Did it hurt? Would I recommend it to other people? Why didn't I have her at home? I'll take you through my decision-making process, and hopefully that can help you in your decision, because this is a very personal decision, and I'll just share with you what helped me get to my final decision, which was to do a natural childbirth. So the first thing that played into my decision to have a natural childbirth was that I am someone who struggles with anxiety, and I'm heavily affected by my surroundings. So when we found out that we were pregnant and we started looking through options, I actually wanted to do a home birth. And that was whenever the seed for having a natural childbirth was initially planted, because of course if I'm having her at home then I can't have an epidural. So I just got used to the thought of having her without an epidural, completely unmedicated, low intervention, all that jazz. Now after my husband and I had already committed to the idea of having Tennyson at home, we had taken natural birthing classes such as hypnobirthing. I had also read a birthing skills book. We had set everything into motion. We were completely ready to have her at home, and then we made a discovery that our insurance actually would not pay for a home birth. We got confused initially. We thought that they would pay for a home birth because a home birth is done through a midwife. And the practice that we were initially using whenever we were making the decision on where to have Tennyson had midwives. We were seeing midwives and our insurance covered that. So it never even played into our mind that they would not cover a midwife delivering Tennyson at home. But they didn't, so we ended up having Tennyson in the hospital in a low intervention room with a midwife, which was covered because there was a licensed physician on staff with that practice. So that was like this little quirk with our insurance company that made a huge difference for us. However, I do have to say that we had a wonderful experience. I would have preferred to have her at home, but in the low intervention room in the hospital, we had an absolutely wonderful experience. We brought some pillows and blankets from home. We brought some candles to make it a very just warm and relaxed environment. I had a good playlist selected, and we had a doula that helped us get Tennyson here. And although it was not the birth that we intended to have initially, we were very happy with the outcome. The second thing that played into my decision to have a natural childbirth was that I didn't want to be reliant on an epidural. Epidurals do not work for everyone, and so I didn't want to be caught off guard with these contractions that I had not planned for. I've seen this a lot. I've seen horror stories on YouTube about failed epidurals and individuals who were not at all ready to feel a natural childbirth, feeling everything and having to go through it on their own, basically all natural, because the epidural did not work for them. So I just wanted to be prepared from the get-go, and I wanted to be self-reliant and not rely on anything else that I could not control. The third thing that I kept in mind was that I didn't want to volunteer to be paralyzed from the waist down. Although it's great to be numb from the waist down during childbirth, you don't feel the contractions, which do get intense, you have to volunteer to not be able to move. And just the thought of being voluntarily paralyzed from the waist down in no way sounded appealing to me. I would rather deal with contractions than not be able to walk. I think that would just send me into a big panic if I couldn't move my legs. Additionally, lots of women have reported problems with the injection site where they actually put the epidural for years and years after they have their baby. Some women have even reported that it basically gave them problems for the rest of their life. Like they had pain at the injection site decades after they had their child. So that was just another detail that played into my decision of not really wanting to have the epidural. So another reason I did not want to rely on an epidural is that you can't get an epidural, of course, until after you go to the hospital. Hospitals will not admit you until most hospitals, it's until you're 4 centimeters. Some hospitals, I've even heard, are 5 centimeters. Your contractions get pretty intense before 4 centimeters. Really intense. Mine did when I wasn't even 4 centimeters. My contractions were quite intense. In fact, I went to the hospital, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 times before they admitted me. Now, I wanted to hold off going to the hospital as long as possible, but I had to actually get to the hospital in a timely manner because I was GBS positive, so I had to have at least 2 rounds of antibiotics before I had tennyson. So that put us on some time restrictions. So I wasn't rushing to the hospital to check to see whether or not I was 4 centimeters because I wanted to be there. I just had to get checked in as soon as possible so that I could get my 2 rounds of antibiotics before I delivered her. But I was not at 4 centimeters. I think on 2 occasions that I went, and my contractions were already really intense. Like me not being able to talk through them, hitting me, every few minutes. So I was really happy that I was prepared to undergo these contractions. And that's something you may want to think about. Even if you are planning to have an epidural, definitely do your research on ways to get through the contractions, ways to calm yourself down, ways to keep yourself relaxed and not to tense your body up, because the contractions are going to get pretty intense even before they will admit you to the hospital, and you want to be prepared for that. Another thing to know about natural childbirth is that the contractions don't just last the entire time. You get a break. Just when you're getting to that point where you feel like you can't take it anymore, they ease off. So one visual that I used, which was really helpful while I was in the hospital, was I imagined the contractions as kind of like an incline. You feel it really, really softly in the beginning, and your stomach slowly gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and it gets more and more intense, and then it hits its peak, and then it drops down again. That's how they are every time. That's manageable. One thing that was really helpful for me was counting, because my contractions usually got to their peak at 45 seconds. And so I didn't have to think about making it all night through these contractions. I just had to make it to 45 seconds. I knew after that 45-second mark that they were slowly gonna die down and I was gonna be able to relax for at least a few minutes, and that's all I needed. When I was reading my birthing skills book, it described lots of pain that we endure as sick pain. It's our body's way of letting us know that something is wrong. For example, when I had my appendectomy, my appendix burst, that was a sick pain. It was sharp, burning pain. My body was screaming at me that something was wrong. Contractions are not like that. Contractions don't even feel like sick pain. Contractions are not sharp. They are intense, but it's a dull pain that kind of feels just like a stretching or a tightening. Contractions are painful, but it's a healthy pain. And actually what it feels like is soreness. And that's where the pain actually comes from with contractions. What happens is that when your uterus is contracting, that means that the muscles around your uterus are working. And the pain from contractions actually comes from those muscles being overworked, those muscles being sore. So you can imagine yourself being really sore after you work out really hard at the gym. That's that same pain. It feels pretty intense because when you come from the gym, you can just not use those muscles or choose when you're going to use those muscles and at least prepare yourself. The thing that makes childbirth difficult is that you don't really get to choose when those muscles are going to work and when you're going to get a rest, and it's sore every time. So that's the hard part about childbirth. But as far as the pain being more intense than anything else, I can name at least 5 other things that are more intense for me personally than childbirth. Things that are more painful. The contractions that you get during childbirth, it's just a sore pain. It's not a sick pain. A big reason that I am an advocate for unmedicated and natural childbirth is the bonding that occurred with me and my husband. So whether it was us bonding through the classes and all the learning that we were doing about childbirth beforehand, not to mention everything that we did together in the moment while we were giving birth to my daughter, it just brought us so much closer together. And I have no doubt that we would have grown closer regardless, even if I had an epidural. But I think it would have been a much different experience if we had just been in a room, watching TV or on our phones, kind of waiting for that moment to happen. Chad and I took so much time together. We invested so much time into each other and into this little monster right here. We invested so much of our time and our mental energy, our physical energy into preparing ourselves for her to be here. And it brought us so much closer together. And I think it brought us closer to her as well. All during the childbirth, Chad was right there. We worked so hard to get her here. And it really changed the way that he and I work together now that she is here. Along the same lines, I truly believe that all the preparation I did for childbirth, the books that I read, the classes that I took to help get me through the physical pain of childbirth, I think that it really helped me dealing with any type of pain after I gave birth to her, whether it be physical or even emotional pain, postpartum depression, things like that. A lot of women report that they felt more resilient from having gone through this in a natural way because they were more reliant on themselves. There was this increased confidence. There was this feeling that because they had done this, they were capable of anything. And I can say that I definitely felt that way as well. I have struggled with depression at different points in my life, anxiety as well. And there is this sense that those are very small things now because I've done one of the biggest things that you can do. And I have no doubt that it has helped me in having patience and strength and endurance when raising my daughter. The last thing that I factored into my decision-making process, and this was a really big thing, was that medical interventions are a multi-billion-dollar, if not trillion-dollar industry. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know it's at least a multi-billion-dollar industry. It takes a lot of money to have medical interventions, and hospitals capitalize on that, even in childbirth. Now, this is not in every case, but for a lot of people, an epidural will slow things down. So you will be given Pitocin to speed things back up again. I did not want to fix something that is not broken. I was fully reliant on my body. I was confident in my body's ability to birth my daughter. I was also a good candidate. Thank you. Woo! I was also a really good candidate for a low intervention childbirth because I was low risk, I was very healthy, she was very healthy, and I didn't want to have a medical intervention if it wasn't absolutely necessary for us to do so. Toward the end of labor, your body gets basically flooded with adrenaline when it's time to push the baby out. And as someone who struggles with anxiety, that was a lot for me. That was really intense. That to me was more stressful than the contractions because I'm being flooded with adrenaline, and I even have to be careful with like caffeine because I'll get really anxious. So my midwife recommended that I try the nitrous oxide, which is very low intervention as well. And so I was willing to give that a try just to calm me down a little bit so that I could really enjoy those initial moments with my daughter a little more. And so I signed up for the nitrous oxide, the laughing gas basically, and they wheeled it into the room. They did not tell me ahead of time that in order to be on the gas, I would have to be monitored and therefore hooked up to the monitors and be laying in bed. That was a no-go. The second they told me that, after they wheeled the gas into the room, I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I cannot lay in bed through natural childbirth. Moving around helped me so much. Being in the shower helped me so much. I would not have been able to stand it just laying in bed unmedicated. And so I didn't end up having any gas, but just having someone bring the gas into the room, just that cost us $250. Laughing gas. $250 that I didn't even use. So that's just a teeny tiny example of how much money the medical industry is making off of childbirth. Imagine if you had Pitocin administered and an epidural. Let's not even get into C-sections and all that stuff. I'm very glad that, you know, we have the power to save people's lives, that we have the medical technology that we have. But unfortunately, it is a money-making industry, and so one thing that you have to somehow factor into your decision-making is that all medical interventions that are proposed to you are not necessarily necessary. It may just be part of a money-making strategy. And so you have to really have some discernment about that yourself. If I had needed an emergency C-section with Tennyson, I would have been more than happy to do so, and I would have been happy that that option existed for us to help both of us out. I am very thankful that we did not need that. I'm very thankful that I was able to have her naturally, and if we have any more kids, I just pray with all my heart that I can do it exactly the same way that we did the first time. Now, this is not my way of hating on anyone who wants an epidural or even has a planned C-section or anything like that. I'm a big advocate for people doing what they want to do. And so I think our culture has really stigmatized natural childbirth and a woman's ability to birth her baby. And part of the reason I think that is happening is because having medical interventions is profitable. So I just wanted to put this video out there to remind women how powerful they are and what their capabilities are. You are absolutely capable of having your baby, and regardless of the way that you choose to do that, I want to offer you my utmost congratulations. If you're wanting to have a more relaxed experience with an epidural, I congratulate you and commend you on that decision. If you have a planned C-section, then I want to offer you my congratulations for that as well. The important thing is that you get the experience that you want, and so I'm sending all kinds of good vibes your way. I hope you have a wonderful childbirth, and I hope you enjoy all the time you have with your little one. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, then subscribe and hit that little bell so that you can receive notifications when we post more. Do you have a specific video in mind? Leave it in the comments section. I'd be happy to converse with you and make that video as well. All right, say bye, Tinny. Bye-bye. So that was just another detail that played into my decision of not really wanting to have the epidural. Oh, you pulled her hair out. I'm sorry, Primmy. Are you okay? She got her hair. Okay, you stay over here. Here's another num-num. Okay, and give me the hair. Oh, I'm sorry, pretty girl. Ooh, no ma'am, no thank you. Nope, not a good idea. Oh, tantrum. Here, trade. Oh, you've been doing great, baby.